Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the College Sports Forum podcast. This episode is going to be reactions to the Week 6 college football games, just a couple of them, 3 of them actually. And then near the end we're going to do our rankings going into Week 7. Just a couple things I wanted to get out of the way first. I want to show everybody where else you guys can follow me at. TikTok, it's going to be the same as the YouTube. It's just going to be the College Sports Forum. It's going to be up on the screen for you guys as well. There's also going to be links in the description and in the description of the channel as well. X as well. You can also find me over there. It's going to be the CS Forum 11 over there, again, with that on the screen and links in the description and in the channel description as well. So let's go ahead, not waste any more time. Let's get into our first game here. Texas at Florida. That was one of our big upsets that happened this week. That game was fun. That was a fun game to watch. That was one of the 3:30 windows. The 3:30 window really delivered this week. It was one of the better 3:30 windows that we've had in a minute, and this is honestly one of the better weeks that we've had in a while, which is usually what happens when you have a quote-unquote quiet week coming or a quote-unquote boring week. You typically have some of your better games, and that's exactly what happened in this Week 6. So let's get into this. So obviously Florida won. Florida won the game. Florida outgained Texas by over 100 yards, 116 yards actually. Florida had 457 yards of total offense, 298 through the air, which was actually pretty much exactly even with Texas. Florida had 298, Texas had 289. A lot of people are quick to hate on Arch Manning in this game, but he honestly did not play the worst game he could have. He played not great, of course, not a great game at all. He was 16 of 29 for 2 touchdowns and 2 picks, which is far from good, but he could have played a lot worse in this game. Texas has a lot bigger issues than just Arch Manning, and that was very apparent on Saturday. Texas was 3 for 11 on third down, which not good. You're never going to win a game, especially on the road doing that. Texas also only ran the ball for 52 yards, which again, not going to win a game, especially on the road doing that. Florida ran it for about 160, which was pretty good. That's above average for them. So that's pretty good amongst Power 4 opponents, of course. Lagway was fantastic in this game. Lagway was 21 for 28 for 298, 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. Lagway played the game we'd all been waiting on him to play. We saw a little bit of this out of him last season, and we've kind of just been waiting for that to come around this season, and it finally did in this game. Lagway played great. Texas had 10 penalties for over 70 yards in this game. Again, just a lot of things adding up for Texas here. You're not going to win many games getting 10 penalties for 70 yards. Turnovers were even. Texas had 2 picks. Florida had a pick and a fumble. So those were pretty evenly matched. I think what a lot of people don't understand about this Florida team can go 6-6, I think, and still be a top 15 team in the country, just with the kind of schedule that they play. It's one of the harder schedules in the country. It's getting a little bit easier as the season goes along. LSU's not turning out not to be what everybody thought they were. Personally, I don't think Ole Miss is really a top 5 caliber team. I think they've beaten some teams. They struggled with Kentucky. They beat LSU, but again, I'm not very high on LSU or Ole Miss for that matter. Another big storyline in this game is Arch Manning. Like I said near the beginning of this, I don't think Texas's main flaw is Arch Manning. I think Texas has a lot of, especially that offensive line. That offensive line is struggling this year, and Arch is doing what he can. But I think Arch from the start was put into an unfair position by the fan base, by the media. And I think there's a reason Quinn Ewers started over Arch for as long as he did, because I don't think Arch is this generational talent at quarterback. I think Arch is a serviceable QB who can go out there and play, but I don't think he's number one overall draft pick material. I don't think he's generational talent material, and it's no fault of his own that people are putting these expectations on him, but I mean, he's got the last name Manning, so I mean, there's a lot of weight that comes with that last name, and I think in time he'll adjust and he'll be a pretty good and pretty successful quarterback. But I don't think he's at that point right now, and I think that's pretty apparent through the first few games they've played. He's played fine. Let's put it that way. He's played okay. He's probably middle of the pack in the SEC. I can think of guys that I'd rather have ahead of him, but I can also think of guys that I would not rather have instead of Arch. Like, there's a lot worse QBs you can have out there than Arch Manning. So that's pretty much it for that game. Pretty entertaining game overall. Was kind of flipping through that, and our next game that we're about to talk about, which was another 3:30 game, which was Penn State at UCLA. And in my notes here, I just have "wow" as the first word on this, because that's pretty much the way to sum up this game. This was the first time that a top 10 team had lost to an 0-4 team in over 40 years. UCLA coming into this game was really bad. Like, they got 2 losses to Group of 5 teams. They got blown out 35-10 by New Mexico. This was just bad. There was no redeeming qualities in this game. There was no bright side for Penn State. This game was just terrible, terrible, terrible. Penn State was 4 of 9 on third down. They were 1 of 3 on fourth down. Drew Aller was 19 for 26, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is not a bad stat line at all. That's actually a pretty decent stat line. But again, it's the defense. They gave up 42 points. UCLA scored on their first 5 drives. I just want you all to think about that. UCLA scored on their first 5 drives to a first-year head coach who didn't even know how to work the headset. If you listen to his post-game press conference, he said he didn't even know how to work the headset. He didn't even have a play called on one of their fourth downs. He didn't have a play called. He forgot to call play. That's the team that Penn State played on Saturday. Nico Iamaleava was 17 of 24, 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did not light the world on fire. He had an arguably worse game than Drew Aller. UCLA also ran the ball for 280 yards, and it's the most they've ran the ball for all year by a considerable margin. There's just no excuse for that if you're Penn State at all. UCLA punted the ball 1 time in this game. The entire game, they punted it. They punted the ball 1 time. There was a point around 4 minutes left. Penn State marches down, scores. Drew Aller throws a great ball to the corner of the end zone. Then they get the stop on fourth down. Plus territory. They're at like the 35-yard line, and UCLA went for it on 4th and 2, didn't get it. And this was about the point where I thought the game was over. I thought Penn State was going to score, tie it up, force overtime, win in overtime. Because, I mean, they're Penn State. They should. You were kind of waiting for that turning point moment in this game, and it never happened. That was about where I thought it was going to happen, but ended up going a completely different way. They marched down to they got it to 4th and goal. UCLA got a stop on 4th and goal. Drew Aller just kind of fell down, and that was basically the end of the game. I don't even think UCLA had to get another first down, because I think Penn State had 1 timeout left. So that whole stop right there was kind of the game. Penn State's not gonna win anything substantial as long as James Franklin is the head coach. I'm not saying you fire him, because you can't fire a guy. He's just a 10-win guy. He's just a guy that's gonna go out there. He's gonna go 10-2. He's gonna lose to Ohio State and somebody else every single year. We have years, like almost a decade, probably over more than a decade worth of evidence to prove that. The only reason they ever made the playoffs and even the semifinals last year was because the expanded format, and because their path to get to the semis was SMU and Boise State. That's not a championship caliber team. That's a 10 win football team year in and year out. Is that a bad thing? No. There's many teams that would love to win 10 games, but to that fan base and to the expectations they have every year, that's not satisfactory at all. And I don't blame them for it. If I went 10-2 every year and lost to Ohio State, I'd be pretty mad as well. But yeah, that's there's not really much more to be said about this game. That was just bad all around. They went in there, they lost to a really bad football team, first week head coach, and yeah, there's really nothing. Like I said at the beginning, wow, that's really the only word that you can use to describe that game. So, final game here is going to be Iowa State at Cincinnati. This was a fun game to watch. Defense, holy defense, Iowa State. I don't know if you just didn't bring the defense, they didn't get on the bus, or what. But this game was ugly. Cincinnati jumped out to a 17-0 lead really early in this game. Iowa State was 4 for 16 on third down. They were 4 of 7 on fourth down. They went for 4 times on fourth down, which is just crazy. Cincinnati had 474 yards of total offense in this game. Rocco Bennett, the quarterback for Iowa State, threw the ball 48 times. He was 30 for 48 for 314 and 2 touchdowns, which is not a bad stat line at all. I'm not saying Iowa State played bad by any means, but they just played a pretty good Cincinnati team. Brendan Sorsby was 13 of 25 for 214, 2 touchdowns. It's a pretty good stat line. Again, I mean, it's nothing crazy, but it's a pretty good stat line. The big key here is Cincinnati ran the ball for 260 yards. You're never going to win a game on the road giving up 260 rushing yards. Iowa State is a team that I've been pretty high on all year, ever since they beat Kansas State in Ireland. And this defensive performance was just absolutely pathetic. This game was very frustrating to watch, especially because I wanted Iowa State to win this game, but it just didn't turn out that way. They had some chances in the second half. They had pretty good momentum going into halftime. But the 17-0 deficit again at the beginning of the game, just they got themselves into a hole they weren't able to dig out of. They got more than enough help from the officials near the end of the game. There was one drive where I believe Cincinnati had 6 straight penalties. One of them was a touchdown that got called back. And it was just kind of flags flying all over the field. But again, 17-0. It's pretty hard to come back from that on the road, especially when you're in conference play. Overall, it was a pretty entertaining game. Cincinnati's turning out to be a really good football team. It's a team to watch in the Big 12. But again, Texas Tech's going to be a tough team to get over in the Big 12. But Cincinnati and Texas Tech do play, so we will see when that game comes along. So that's pretty much it for the games. Let's go ahead and get into the Week 7 top 20. Let's do that. Let's go. Okay, so number 1, we got Miami. Of course, this is the best football team I've seen, most balanced football team that I've seen play. Really nothing else to be said about that. They got a really good quarterback. Carson Beck is a gamer. He's not going to go out there and get you beat. He's a veteran guy. He's going to go out there, sling the ball. He's going to play good. He's not going to turn it over. They also got a phenomenal defense. They went out there and they got some guys in the portal. That defensive line is NFL level. The secondary is terrifying. That's a really good secondary. It's just a really good overall team that they've got. Most well-rounded team I've seen. So, of course, that's why I have them at number 1. They just went and dismantled Florida State. That game was never close. The final score is not a reflection of how dominant Miami was in that game. Number 2, I've got Oregon. Nothing else more to be said about that. They just went into Penn State, beat them in overtime. I think they'll beat Ohio State, too, when they play them. Oregon's just, again, a really good team. Their quarterback, Dante Moore, he's a transfer from UCLA, I believe. He's a pretty good – he's a baller. Ohio State 3, not much to be said about that. Defending national champions, they've not lost a game. That Texas win is starting to look a little worse as the weeks progress, but not lost. So, and they look okay. So we'll keep them where they're at for right now. Texas A&M at number 4. Texas A&M is looking really good. They embarrassed Mississippi State at home. That was a really good win. That running back Le'Veon Moss is really good. They got some really good talent at receivers. Concepcion, that transfer from NC State, is playing really well. Marcel Reed is another guy. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. So overall, A&M's up here until they give me a reason not to be. Alabama at 5. Nothing really to be said about that. They just beat Vanderbilt pretty handily. I believe they beat them by 16. They were a 12.5-point favorite. So anytime you cover the spread and then some, you're in a good spot. Georgia at 6. I got Georgia a little bit higher than the AP and just most people in general. I'm pretty high on Georgia. I mean, Georgia's every year. Kirby's a good coach. When you win year in and year out like that, and you recruit year in and year out the way that they do, you're going to be up in the top 5, top 10. So I trust them. That's really why I have them so high. I trust them. I got Oklahoma at 7. This is not because John Mateer is hurt. I'm not super high on John Mateer. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's the best quarterback in the country at all. That game against Michigan, this is a funny little stat. They called more design runs for him than they did their own running back. So I'm not saying that I don't think he's going to be able to do that all season. I don't think he'll have a problem doing it. But I think when you face a team with a good front and that's going to make you throw, I think you're going to run into some issues. And they play some good teams down the stretch. They play Texas this weekend. They go to Tennessee in a couple weeks. So we'll see how that plays out. Ole Miss at 8. Again, I'm not super high on Ole Miss, but they haven't lost, and they beat LSU. So I got them up there. I got Indiana at 9, solely for the reason that they absolutely handed it to Illinois, beat them by 53 points. Anytime you can do that, that's pretty impressive. And they're undefeated, so not many teams can say that. I got Tennessee at 10. A lot higher on Tennessee than most people. I am from Knoxville. I'm a lifelong Tennessee fan, so there is biasy there, and I'm not going to apologize for that. But, yeah, anytime I talk about Tennessee, just keep that in mind. I just think the offense is good. Of course, under Josh Heupel, it's going to be one of the best offenses in the country every year. Joey Aguilar is playing better than anybody in the world could have ever imagined he would play. Even Tennessee fans will admit that. Did not expect this at all. Chris Brazzell is what we all wanted him to be last year. He's doing that this year. So I think that's going to be an exciting team going down the stretch, especially with the pieces that they are returning on the defensive side of the ball here within the next couple weeks. Texas Tech, I got at 11. This is a really good Texas Tech team. This is a team that spent upwards of $40 million in the portal, and just in general, just keeping guys, getting portal guys. This is a really good team that I think is my current favorite to win the Big 12. It was Kansas State at the beginning of the season, so take my opinions with a grain of salt. But, yeah, Texas Tech, good team. Missouri, another team in the SEC, undefeated team. They got Bama coming in this weekend, so we're going to learn a lot about them. So I got them at 12 for now. They're looking pretty good, though. Florida State at 13. When you get embarrassed at home like that, it's pretty hard to be in the top 10. But I got them at 13 because they did still beat Alabama, so I got them there. Georgia Tech at 14. Not a lot of people have watched Georgia Tech play football, and it's pretty apparent by where a lot of people have them ranked. I'm pretty high on Georgia Tech. I'm high on Haynes King. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a gamer who's going to go out there and not get you beat, not turn the ball over. So there's a lot to be said about that. He's going to put his face in the fan and get to whoever they're playing. So that's where I got Georgia Tech. Kansas. This might be a little bit of a shocker to a lot of people, but I've been really high on Kansas since the season started. They lost to Missouri at Missouri in a decently close game. The game was pretty close for about 3.5 quarters, and Missouri kind of stretched it near the end. But Kansas played really well in that game. Jalen Daniels is one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch in college football right now. I think it's been a while since Kansas has had a fully healthy Jalen Daniels. And I just, that's just a fun team to watch for me in the Big 12. One of my more sleeper picks to come out of the Big 12. Really rooting for Kansas to do some stuff this year. Then we got Cincinnati at 16. Like I said earlier when I talked about the Iowa State game, this is a really good Cincinnati team that I think a lot of people just have not watched. I really like this team. I like their quarterback. I like their receivers. I like everything about this team. It's a very fun team to watch. And again, the Big 12 is going to be a fun conference this year to see how that unfolds. Virginia at 17. Again, another team that I just don't think a lot of people have watched play. They beat Florida State on a Friday at home. That was a really good game. If any of you guys watched that game, that was a really fun game to watch. Yeah, overall, just a really fun team. I like Virginia. Got TCU at 18. Not much to say about there. Just another Big 12 team that I think is pretty good. I got LSU at 19, and then I got Florida at 20. So yeah, I've already kind of beat the horse about LSU. I'm not super high on LSU, and we talked about Florida earlier. So yeah, Florida at 20. I just think Florida can go 6-6 and be in the top 15. So that's kind of it for this episode number 1. Yeah, just anybody who stayed to the end, thank you guys. We're going to be back here again on Friday. Every Monday and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time is when this is going to be posted. You can see on the bottom of the screen where to find me on Twitter and TikTok. There'll be stuff posted there that's not posted here. So yeah, go follow on that, and thank you. Have a good night.